afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, guys. I think it's getting better slowly. Hopefully, by the time our time finishes, we'll see a lot of more energy in the room. I'm the moderator. I hate my own voice. So either I'll ask you questions or I'll ask them questions. Let's see who does a better job. What is the first GCC in India? This is Google answer, huh? By the way, please don't judge me. Yep. Which one? Any idea which year it was? Superb. At least Google tells me it's 85, but could be in between, right? So thank you so much, right? Whether you call it GICs, Shared Service Center, GCCs, different people, different definitions, one thing is clear. GCCs are having a movement under the sun, right? With our Honorable Finance Minister in the budget, in the speech talking about GCCs and the evolution of Tier 2 cities, right? What started as a pure play cost arbitrage, today is no longer a cost arbitrage game. The game's changed from being a cost arbitrage to being a technology arbitrage, so much so that 30% of the autopilot software that runs a plane today is designed out of Bangalore. The entire connected car software that a lot of these large luxury vehicles use is designed in India. So with that, Sanjay, your opening comments, please.
Hi, it's Sanjay Choudhary, founder and CEO of Incuspaze. We provide managed office spaces across 18 cities in India. And as Jaspreet said, I think the GCC as a term is not a new term as such, from 1884. Thanks for enriching my knowledge. But yes, the term has become more prevalent, and now everybody's talking about it. And I completely concur that India is no longer a cost arbitrage only, but it's definitely an expertise center for companies to consider. Yes, we have different micro markets and different markets where you'll find different set of expertise. And I think that's where we would like to work with the GCCs to ensure we can provide them the right space solution for the right market and right micro market to ensure, because the talent is the key to whatever we do. And I think that's the reason, the key reason for the success will be choosing the right micro market wherever they set up. Thank you.
I think that's a very important point that you've made, Sanjay. Talent and micro market. I think often probably two most overused words, right? But highly ignored also. Everybody in this room, if I take a poll saying, are they today facing talent issues? Answer will be yes. And it could be 100 reasons. It could be ways of working, work from home, whatever. And we'll get into those details. Thank you so much. Anuprita, your opening comments, please.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. I represent Merck. Merck is a science and technology organization which is as old as 354 years. Wow. And it is in the space of life sciences, healthcare, electronics. And I have a global capability center based out of Bangalore. And we have some headcounts in Hyderabad, Mumbai, etc. The GCC is a term which is collectively us. Why I say us, it's time for India to lead from the front. And I think GCCs, the buzz which you hear, is primarily because we are leading from the front. No organization is now thinking their growth without India. And that's the capability which GCCs are bringing in the front. We are having all the capabilities which supports all these sectors which I just said. Very proud because it's a global organization. We'll talk more about the connectivity. We'll talk more about the diversity and inclusion. But it's our time now. And that's why I think I am a proud owner of a GCC which brings value to the table. As everyone said, it's not about cost arbitrage. It's about showcasing our skills, leading from the front, and giving value and growth to the organizations which GCCs belong to. So with that, I'll hand it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, I think super interesting comments, right? How you've linked it to the entire Viksit Bharat, if I were to call it, right? And, I don't want to repeat it, but any pick up any global leader and he says this decade is of India, this is India's movement under the sun. And I think it's, and this is what we are also experiencing. You go to top 10 organizations in any sector in US, and there is still a thought that is developing, but the thought is now there saying, how do we go to India? What kind of setup do we have in India? And what's the arbitrage that we can do? Whether it's cost, technology, follow the sun model, and some of the GCCs are as good as operating offices outside of their parent country, right? It's not a standalone technology center where, people in hoodies are working 24/7. Thank you for that. Rajesh, coming to you, your opening comments, please.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Probably I have a different perspective and I've seen the industry. I worked with Tata's and Cognizant for close to 2 decades. When we were in Tata's, when we used to work with some of the global clients, I worked with Kellogg's, I worked with Prudential. If a project required 20 or 30 people, we all 20, 30 used to travel from India to UK or US. I was part of those teams. From there, the equation changed from those 20, 30 people to build an offshore model. It means we're only about 3, 4 people at onshore and about 16, 17 people. I've seen that transition. And from there now, those guys are actually coming to India and setting up their base, right? I've really seen a complete full cycle of this transition, right? Now coming to about myself, now I manage a company by name Kasmo. I'm the CEO. We are a consulting partner to Snowflake and Salesforce. What has happened to GCCs now, in addition to what they're able to take the advantage of India as a destination, as my co-panelists talk about how she's driving the GCC. There's a larger ecosystem in India right now. People like us, we work with GCCs. We actually become their extended arm to provide the right skills, the right competencies, right solutions, right? I think we're in a very interesting stage of India's growth story coming to IT, digital transformation, where it is just not about the cost arbitrage, right? It's also about the value. It's also about the entire ecosystem, right? Where if they want to, move a mountain, they have a huge support from India to make that happen. Thank you.
Superb. I think support from India in terms of the entire infra piece, we'll come to that from a tier 2, tier 3 city advantage perspective. I think that's also been one of the most spoken about topics since morning. Rahul, your opening comments, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. And thanks for having me here. Thanks to ET for putting together a wonderful event. And this, so I lead a GCC called Cowbell Cyber. We are a cyber insurance provider for medium-sized enterprises. And, cyber insurance, for example, if I was to talk about our own case, it's a very new space. And as a GCC, I think we have spoken enough of what it does for the industry and outward. But when I look at it inward, at my own talent pool, my own team, what does it mean for them? And the kind of exposure that it's bringing to them, the kind of thought process. So they are no longer like what we can traditionally call one-trick ponies. Each of these guys is thinking AI, is thinking of the best solutions. They have the liberty and the autonomy to think of what is the next product. And this thinking, so 6 months ago, and I'm proud of saying this, I had somebody who left my team, but I'm proud of it because he left my team and went to set up something of his own. And he's like, I have seen enough happening around where I feel confident to be an entrepreneur. So, outward, value-based, to the parent company, to the market is one thing. I think GCCs also bring a lot of value to the next string of entrepreneurs or techpreneurs that we have. And I think I'm proud of being part of that ecosystem.
Superb. While there is definitely one round of questions I want to talk to everybody about with the elephant in the room, which is the ways of working, which is, do you work from home, hybrid, what culture works, etc. But probably I want to start with you on a very different concept. Everybody's spoken about the past growth, 30 years, GCCs in India, cost over technology. How do you think the evolution will happen in the next 4 or 5 years? Because I think there's a very delicate balance that we are standing at, right? If we don't play our cards well in the next 4 or 5 years, we lose out to a lot of Eastern European countries who've also started picking up GCCs. What are your thoughts on that? And then where can India play a role, obviously?
First of all, when Anuprita said 354 years, I was doing a math over here, like how many decimals I have to put in to get to our age, which was like, so we are like not even we are barely a 5-year-old company. And my GCC story has been not one, but it's been a couple of GCCs that I've helped establish. I think what I've learned through that whole journey, and even this journey that I'm on right now, it's not, it's not something that just kind of falls from the sky. There is, like 1984, Texas Instruments. We've been trying to master this art since then, and it's been a journey. We have kind of evolved. We started with cost, then we bought certain capabilities, then we bought certain value, then we brought in innovation. Now we're thinking AI, then we're thinking, what beyond, how, what are the best AI use cases, and so on and so forth. So, yes, there is going to be competition, and it's good. It's good that there is competition. Because somewhere in between, I think we, for a while, had lost our way as well. Our cost structures were going completely out of hand, and we were not thinking of capability building. We were thinking, okay, just keep increasing the matrix, and we're done. But that's not true. We have to be competitive. We need that healthy competition in the market from the industry, and let others come in. And I think the kind of firepower that we have across skills. I'm not talking only engineering. I'm talking about across skills, across industries. When you think GCC, you've got your G&A functions. You've got maybe your legal and compliance functions. You've got your engineering. You've got data science. You've got, in our own case, I can speak for my industry. I've got claims. I've got underwriting. There's so much that we can do. By the way, here's an interesting question. You guys cannot answer because you'll know the answer. So for us, we do engineering, we do data science, we do claims, we do compliance, we do finance, we do marketing, and one or two other functions. Guess the size of my GCC that I am at right now. Sorry? 500? 500? Okay, I'll give a clue. It's double digits, not even triple digits. Half of that. You know how many policyholders we service? 25,000 plus policyholders. That is, enablement of technology, the right skill set, the right capability, and an understanding of the industry, the understanding of domain. So it's not like something that happens, like somebody just sets up a center. GCC is not only the facility. There is a huge capability thing behind that, which has evolved over time. So I think we are okay for now, Jaspreet.
So I'll just add,
Yeah, Sanjay.
Jaspreet, especially having lived in London for 16 years, and I've seen this nearshore piece, especially in the European segment,
Right.
where the companies have come to India, have had a bad experience, and then started nearshoring. And I think, like rightly said, purely because of our manpower strength we have, we'll continue to have the largest share of GCCs. But I think we need to always focus on the outcome-based, even if it's an internal GCC for a setup for a company. And I'm sure, Anuprita, you also measure your team on, or going to measure on output focus rather than just people, that we have 4,000 people instead of a great example which was given by Rahul, that I've only got a handful of people doing amazing job. So I think we need to become more and more efficient, because having seen and lived in both the world, I can tell you the Western world is far more efficient from a number of people perspective. And that efficiency we need to bring to the table. I think rather than just number of folks employed in a GCC.
So initial comments probably, Rahul, I think maybe you could add 100, 200 people more in India on a lighter note. But I think you hit the nail on the head, right? A lot of GCCs were never set up thinking in mind that we'll provide value, right? It was just somebody being set up in a remote office, 7 seas away, right? Or 7 oceans away, whatever you want to call it. And thought that, all our technology problems, let's outsource, right? But now, given the value-based work, the innovation that both of you spoke about, and it's across sectors, right? It's not only one sector, it's not technology sector that everybody speaks about. Look at the pharma industry in India. The number of GCCs that we serve today, I think probably second to none, right? With that, probably I'll want to bring in Rajesh. Rajesh, I think Rahul alluded to the entire skill availability in India perspective, right? What's your thought on how do you build these entire talent initiatives. And then maybe, taking a cue from there, Anuprita, I'll definitely want to hear your views on this entire work from home hybrid culture.
Yeah, thanks Jaspreet on that. See, one great thing that India has started offering, as I spoke earlier, right? It's a complete ecosystem that we have built. In fact, recently one of my friends had come down to meet me in my office in Bangalore. We are at Carlet Tech Park next to Nagavara Lake. It's a lake-facing property. And he was completely zapped to see that entire property and the kind of a facility we have, right? One is, we have a great ecosystem today, whether you talk about our office space, whether you talk about our colleges, our even campuses, which kind of a no longer the what we had in 80s or 90s kind of a thing, right? One is a great infra and ecosystem. I mean, I'm not talking much about the Bangalore traffic here. That's point number one. The point number two, right? In the tech space, right? We moved from mainframe to client server to ERPs to CRMs to now we are in the cloud to now in the AI, right? The tech is changing so rapidly now. It's like it requires a different mindset to keep up to that tech. Whether you talk about an AWS, you talk about an Google, or you talk about an Facebook, right? These tech are changing. For example, the whole shift happened in the last few days with the Gen AI space, right? I think one good thing is India is having such a huge, vast, young talent pool, and a kind of an ecosystem of engineering colleges, B schools, right? Which is really helping us to keep up the pace with that kind of run. And plus, the tech has become a DNA of most Indian kids today. Even if today I met a couple of my good ex-colleagues, and they're talking, their kids want to get into maths and science and computers and all, right? So that's how it is, right? I think we have that very natural advantage of an English-speaking, maths-focused, com science grads, plus combined with an ecosystem, the kind of a company that's coming to India. I think we are unparalleled when it comes to our technology. So we will be always ahead of any other nation when it comes to technology upskilling.
So thank you. Totally echo what you said. My personal thoughts, though, are that we are so focused on using the existing technology today that probably that leap of faith on using AI to develop newer age products, maybe some parts of the world are doing a slightly better job there. We are very good adopters, but are we the first ones to pick up a Gen AI model and develop a software of our own and ship it to the world? Maybe not.
Yeah, just I'd like to add to that point, right? Though I spoke a lot on the technology space, right? And interestingly now, what's happening in India, India also becoming a hub for other areas, whether it's design, product development, legal, right? Or you're talking about clinical research processes, right? India also started churning a good amount of non-tech workforce which is required for GCCs. Just not about the tech thing, right? Now coming back to what you're talking about, right? From a technology.
That's what I feel.
Correct.
And I'm happy to take, see a word of hands. How many people think this is true? We are very good in following, but how many open Gen AI models
one quick
have
comment,
been
Jaspreet,
made?
and then hand it over to people. If you look at very closely now, there's about a $2 billion ARR coming from India's SaaS companies. From a global SaaS market, it is still a very tiny portion, but I think we are getting there. I'm pretty sure you're going to see a Microsoft or Google coming from India in the next decade.
I'll be hooting, cheering for them, but our, what's our investment in AI, which was publicly announced, was $500 million, vis-a-vis $2 billion, which today morning EU has announced. But that's okay. I think,
You answered it right, actually. India doesn't have the patience capital still. Until the time we don't have the patience capital, I think the new innovation, forget about the Microsoft of the world, I think we want the result too soon. And any R&D, any innovation require a long-term visibility and long-term mindset, which unfortunately still is not there remotely at the levels of the San Fran or European markets.
Perfect. My favorite topic, Anuprita. I deal with this daily. It's so difficult to get people out of their home. You have all 20 minutes now to you, but please, how do you solve this problem?
My question is, why do you want people out of their homes? Till the time their minds are in the right place and they are delivering for you, why do you want them to be out of their homes? I'm being devil's advocate, but however, and hybrid work is a ideal way to go now. It's not about work from home or work from office. They have their own advantages. Definitely office gives you more connections, network. Why are we doing this? We are doing this to have connects, learn from each other, have, you know, the relationship which gets built, and then work becomes easier. However, flexibility has become key. And when it comes to flexibility, when you give flexibility, people are also being flexible and stretching. When we are talking about the globe, there are like north, south, east, west, the entire globe, and their work times are very different. So the need of the hour is to become hybrid, to think hybrid. You cannot be the standard manager saying that, oh, this person doesn't show up, doesn't mean that, you know, you are not delivering. That person is delivering for probably Korea, Japan, US. Time zones are different. So we have to have the flexibility mindset, giving people the empowerment to decide how they would want to deliver, but also emphasizing on the collaboration, the network, and the synergies which are required to be in office. And that is the space which we all have to bring together. And that's when you will see people will start coming to offices irrespective of any traffic.
Perfect. Rahul, you wanted to add something on this?
See, I mean, my view on this, but we have a very loosely applied hybrid policy, 3 days on, 2 days off. It's your team. You have to trust them, you have to believe them. If you can't trust your own team when they're saying that they're working from home or whatever they're doing, or they're going to get the work, I don't care, you work from home, you work from the park, you work from your children's school, I don't care. As long as you're following certain protocols, you know, some of the aspects of work from home are not only about coming into the office. It's not about enduring that journey of getting in your car or bike or public transport from home to office, and it's not only that. There is another aspect of working from office, which is data privacy, for example, compliance, for example, right? But as long as my team can adhere to those particular policies or those particular regulations, I'm okay. And I think you rightly said it. So there are some guys of mine who I don't see for 1 or 2 weeks in a row. And I know that they're supporting something that's going on the production side, late hours and stuff. So fine, you're getting your work done, do it. But it's my team. And I believe and I trust each one of them, and that is why they're part of my team. So ironically, though we are at 3 days on, 2 days off, we have people who come in more than 3 times a day without being told, and then of course we don't tell them now go home, right? So it's working. It took some time, even for me, you know, I've been in the industry for over 20 years, so it took some time for me as a leader, as a manager, to understand some of this and to accept the fact that I don't need to get up in the morning and get dressed and get out. It took some time, but I think we are getting there, and if it's working,
I've spent about 21 years in consulting, so my learning curve is slightly slower. I'm still getting used to work from home.
I have one sentence for it.
Yeah, please.
I mean, for people, this is like freedom comes with responsibility. If you want
Spider-Man.
freedom, flexibility, it is your responsibility to deliver what you are assigned to.
So I have a important, I'll talk very simply, although we are an office space provider, but I'll still share my 2 cents on what I know of. I think problem is 2 things, you know, India, in context to India, compared to a Western world, our homes are not set up for working from home.
Super.
Second and most important thing, why do we send our kids to school with uniform? You get into the mode to learn. Similarly, when we are in a mode
Discipline.
to work, discipline and go to work, you are in the mindset. Even we as an entrepreneur, we have taken our journey of whatever years to build. Even we are not very disciplined. When my kid come and ask me something in home, I think he's right and I'm wrong if I'm not answering him or her. And also there is an adverse effect. Some people become so workaholic, they don't know the difference between what is home and what is work. So honestly, there are long-term impact, and there are enough and more case studies out in the market that working from home will create challenges in future. And also, even though you are working from, you're not seen. So your promotion will also get impacted. There are a lot of things. But there are enough and more studies out there that I think while hybrid is fine, there should be some flexibility. Like Netherlands, for example, this all work from home is very new, even in Europe for that matter. Like having lived in London, getting work from home was impossible. But Netherlands were always similar. But people are far more disciplined. Unfortunately, in India, guys, and I can tell you, general discipline is not as good what we see in the Western world. So I think, but yeah, there are enough and more reasons we can talk.
Thank you for calling
I
it out,
will
but I
agree.
want to ask you a question. Sorry, just 10 seconds, I'll come to you. Real estate, right? Convincing organizations who've probably don't have a single, 10 by 10 office in India, to come to India, use real estate, and how easy, how difficult it is.
I think, again, real estate is more of an enabler.
Right.
I think the first question always start is, what do they want to achieve coming to India? What kind of talent they are looking for? What should be their talent strategy before the real estate strategy for that matter? So I think when we work with any organization, they said, okay, because it's easy, I want to set up an office. I said, have you thought through what exactly you're looking for? What is your 3-year plan? I think once we work with them on those areas, especially if there is a large GCC, I think we need to address those questions first before we address a real estate question. Because then we do it for a living, we can do it all day long. But I think we ensure that they think through this process before they make any decision of an office. Because the first thing they come to mind, okay, I have a legal setup, I have a company setup, get me an office. But don't rush for an office.
Right, and that is so true. 1 in 10 organizations I meet, they tell me, Jaspreet, I want to open up a GCC in India because one of my competitors has opened up a GCC in India. I said, do you even realize what they do in India, right? It is like 10 years ago, everybody wanted to move to cloud because everybody was on cloud. They had no reason. Rajesh, please, your comments, and then probably let's take it forward. Yeah. How important is innovation from a consulting perspective and from a GCC perspective?
Yeah, see again, when we talk about an innovation, right, I think that's where again we'll have to go back to the old school of thought of, cost arbitrage, right? Say for example, if a company is looking to move to a cloud from an on-premise to cloud, but they, like to build a business case, they want to do a pilot, right? Sometimes even these pilots could cost a big amount of money when they try to do in the respective nations, right? And that's where I think India can play a huge role, not just helping them with the cost arbitrage, but also with the kind of an access to what we have with the AI and the cloud solutions, right? So innovation becomes very important, as you rightly said, right? You cannot just move because your competitors moved to India, right? You need to have a purpose for setting up your GCC, right? Are you looking to build a scale for your operations? Are you looking to, explore the innovation coming from a different nation, right? Are you looking to have a diversified talent pool, right? I think just to start from that point, then you work backwards.
Perfect. Anuprita, a question to you. How easy, difficult it is from a leadership perspective to manage such a diverse workforce, right? As you likely said, somebody would be sitting in Korea, somebody would be in Bangalore, or somebody would be in Guatemala for that matter. And what are the 5 tips probably you would want to give somebody who is there in a leadership role? And maybe Rahul, you could add to that then.
So at Merck, diversity, inclusion, equity, these are our core basic values. We really emphasize on inclusion. What do we do is having cultural sensitivity. If you're working with a German, you have to know how to say a no or how to say a yes. You cannot do this Indian nod and say yes or no. So
anyways, our Indian nod is very confusing, right?
Yes.
You can move in any direction.
Any direction. So these are some nuances of working cross-cultural. So having the cross-cultural sensitivity, having pulse of people whom you work with is the core. You have to know what is expected out of you. And each one of us are responsible because we are the ambassadors of the organization or the location which we belong to. Now, what is leadership? Leadership is to flex your style based on the situation. And we give a lot of emphasis on the situational leadership. So, one work is to collaborate for sure. Definitely you have to be a collaborator today as a leader. You have to bring people together. You have to be an educator because you are also standing and leading. So there are pieces which we assume that most of the people would know working in India, these are the things they should look out for. But it's not actually that. or you're working out of US, you expect these things. So, you know, you have to always be the bridge between the two cultures, between the two organizations, between two functions, and you have to enable your people to be able to looking through each other. That leadership will really sustain, because globally what happens is a lot of people get into the gray and they don't understand there is trust deficit, there is accountability deficit, and hence, you know, it falls through the crack. So it's very important that globally, when we are in a global setup, we look at small things which make bigger impact. We look at things which really would matter, and do communication. At times, like, we speak really fast, but I have German counterparts whose natural language is not English. They need us to speak slowly. So these are small things which you can really take time to understand and then start practicing. And being leaders, you also have to cascade those information to the people who are dealing the customers across the business. That, you know, these are nuances, these are the things. You cannot expect everyone to know everything and everyone to understand everything. So it is important that small cultural gaps are identified, small steps are taken to bridge those gaps, and at the end deliver it. So that would be my key takeaway, that, you know, we have to have perspectives. Let not your perspective always override the perspective of the others whom we are dealing with. Win-win situation, what works for you, what works for your counter global parts, and that's how the synergy will go, and that's how the vehicle will run on the four wheels. So that's my
Superb.
take.
I think
forward.
excellent points. Some of the points I noted, and I want to probably give an example. Was working with a Japanese client. After every sentence, like we Indians do in a meeting, we nod, right? And for about 15, 20 minutes of my presentation, that person did not move. Either he is just not interested, or I'm talking absolutely rubbish. And after the meeting, I asked him directly. I said, "How was my presentation?" He told me on the face. He said, "I don't nod after every sentence like Indians do." So that's a cultural difference that you need to balance it out. Superb. Excellent points. Thank you. Yeah, Rahul, you wanted to say something.
No, I was just listening to Anuprita speaking. I think she summarized it better than anybody else could have. So I just took some notes while she was talking. I think the first one is we have to move away from as a leadership team, move away from a control mindset to more of a collaboration mindset. I think that's the first thing. Second, I think given the behavioral characteristics of our workforce or our teams, the second most important thing is, I would say, to have a tech-first kind of approach. So if you want to really resonate with your teams, the way they communicate with each other, the tools that they use, whether they are probably more familiar or comfortable holding a conversation over Slack or over Zoom or whatever. So it's not always about, you come in front of me and then let's talk. The third one, and as a derivative of that, I would say, is the agility. Agility, we all love to use the word agile, but I'm talking about agility in terms of decision making, in terms of pivots, in terms of percolation of information. I think that's something that Anuprita was also mentioning, is the way the information goes down to the teams. And then lastly, also the emotional well-being. So that is one thing. So it can't be like 16-hour work days or whatever. The younger workforce definitely have a greater sense of wanting to achieve balance. They want to have their weekend bike rides. They want to go on treks. They want to have vacations. That is the Gen Z and the Gen Z alphas that we are working with now, and we have to give them their what are they in it for. It's not always what are we in it for, but what are they in it for as well. So as a leadership team, that, and of course the big part is the whole cultural thing, cultural internally and externally. Internally towards our teams, we are hiring pan-India, and then we are servicing across the globe. So we have to be cognizant of both of them. So as a leadership team, I think these are the 5 parameters that I would focus on.
Perfect. I thought you were going to speak about the 90-hour work week, but let's pass that.
I received a very nice picture yesterday on WhatsApp, University of WhatsApp. Somebody at the Mahakumbh sitting in front of a laptop.
And working on his laptop.
Yeah. So there you go.
So, at least the photo that I received, what was written there, it was said that it's important that I take a dip, but God does not give money directly. I also have to earn. Perfect. Thank you so much for that, Rahul. Sanjay, 1 minute each. What are 4-5 key takeaways that you want the audience to take away from this?
Thanks, Jaspreet.
Just one, probably less than a minute each.
So again, GCC will continue to contribute to the growth of India, economic growth of India. Whatever decisions made by the Trump or following administration, I think India will continue to grow. And talent is key, and office is here to stay. Thank you.
Thank you. Rajesh, your closing comments, please.
Yeah. As a GCC leaders, I strongly urge you to leverage India for all, trying out innovation here, because this is now a solid platform to try out any new thing, whether you want to build a new application, whether you want to try out a new process, whether you want to start a new team. This is a perfect time for you to embrace that.
Rahul.
I'll say I'm very proud of what we do as a GCC community. I think marching towards 2,000 GCCs and beyond, the kind of stuff that we can do, what we are capable of. And look, I think we are just scratching the surface in terms of the innovation and everything else. Over time, I think we'll go deeper in some of these fields as well. And that's when, the true value, I will say, will be further unleashed. So, yeah, that's my view.
Perfect. Last but not the least, Anuprita.
So I would say claim the space. Basically, take accountability, grab the credit, lead from the front, and be proud of yourself.
Superb. I think please give a huge round of applause for all the panelists. One question. Just one question, sorry. Yes, sir. I'm the moderator. You can't ask questions to me. I think that's clear, right?
Because the question which I'm going to ask related to you only. Anuprita, I come from a real estate background.
Real estate.
I come from a real estate background, so I'm a devil's advocate from my side. So you said you are from a devil's advocate from your company side. So what I presume is that has been interaction with a lot of companies, particularly IT companies. Our job is to be on the road. We start by 9 o'clock. We never know what happens. 5 o'clock, the client gives me a call. Have to give me a call. I have to meet her at around 6 o'clock. I say not no. Like, Anuprita calls me, aa jaoge 5 baje, 5:30 baje. She makes me wait around 5:30. So the meeting is going on. So 6:30, 6:45, I go in the cabin. The meeting goes on for 7:30. So I reach at around 9 o'clock. Okay, so my job profile is different. Now, coming back to your work from home culture. So the efficiency levels, what happens in US or in America is different. A person sitting at home, 10 o'clock, his wife says, आज दोपहर को खाना क्या बनाऊं? जाके थैला में जाके go and bring a vegetable. And the call comes from at 11 o'clock. My boss calls me up. ये आधे घंटे में we are arranging a meeting. We have a client. We have to give a presentation. And the gentleman says, साहब मैं तो अभी कच्चे पे हूँ. वाइफ ने बोला है वेजिटेबल्स लेके जाना. वो पता नहीं उसके बाद क्या बोलेगी वो. And no, you complete. मैं आ जाऊँगा. Try करता हूँ सर. So by the time 12 o'clock sharp, वाइफ बोलती है बच्चे के लिए वेपर ले. ओह क्या कुछ और दवा ले आओ. तो सर और 15 मिनट लगेगा. By the time the meeting has started, what has happened? It's gone for a toss. The efficiency level is reduced drastically. The one more thing, what I'm thinking, I come from my industry. Any country to grow, you know better. Infrastructure is very key. Right. We're talking of 2047, a Vikshit Bharat.
Yeah.
Just presume you've been 354-year-old company, you have an X number of thousands of people working. Let's presume 50% of your workforce is sitting at home and working. And all those GCCs, centers, everyone is working for 50% of your workforce is working at home. बाकी के लोग करेंगे क्या? Where's the economy going on? For infrastructure to grow.
You're right. You have rightly asked the question. And for the benefit of time, I'll just
7
tell
seconds.
you. No, I will need 10 seconds. So first of all, it's not work from home, it's hybrid. And it is important, you're in real estate, so we have to define world-class real estate tech parks. That is the differentiator, not 1,000 seats in an office, but those 500 seats which are world-class equivalent to any other country. That real estate can make a difference. The second thing is define boundaries. Start saying no. We are not good at saying no. So 12 baje, definitely not your manager should call and say, ki kache mein bhi kaam karo. That's not what it should be.
I think a very valid point, just last point, and then we'll finish with a huge round of applause for all of them.
Jaspreet, 1 sec. I have one question for him. Just one, like on the
Yeah,
lighter
yeah.
note. Why is your guy not using Blinkit? 5 minutes में घर पे आ जाएगा यार.
Blinkit ka zamana hai.
हाँ, 6 minutes,
you know,
you get your money back. Tell the guy.
A very senior IT leader. I was meeting him in person, and he said, you know, he asked me what my views of work from home. I said, probably work from home is here to stay. And he said, 90% of Indian people who work in IT, call center, BPO kind of organizations, they're very happy going to office because for them, office is better infrastructure. Privacy is office. At home, they're probably staying with 3-4 people, shared, rented apartments.
Right.
Give a thought. Their mental balance in office is much better than at home.
Yeah.
I never thought about this aspect. Please give a huge round of applause to all of them.
And we can connect after this.